just keeps on burning. Fire in your heart, it just keeps on burning. Don't worry, you got the future on your mind. No hurry, let's take it one day at a time. Feeling like you're stuck in a hurricane, 'cause everything around you just keeps on turning. I can see you searching for an escape. The fire in your heart, it just keeps on burning. Keeps on, it just keeps on burning. Keeps on, it just keeps on burning. Keeps on, it just keeps on burning. Fire in your heart, it just keeps on burning. Don't worry, you got the future on your mind. No hurry, let's take it one day at a time. Don't worry, you got the future on your mind. No hurry, let's take it one day at a time. Don't worry, you got the future on your mind. No hurry, let's take it one day at a time.
Two cutters through the middle. Artie up for three.
Morena eti, we know mai hoki mai, and welcome back here to Rugby Park in Whakatane for the Whakatane January Touch Tournament 2024. Beautiful venue and beautiful day here in Whakatane. I'm Brad Pittman, joined in commentary by Tiv Guthrie. Tiv, we've already been treated to an excellent men's opening game, and now we've got our women out here. Welcome along, and can't wait for this next game.
Kia ora, Brad. Kia ora, it's whānau. Yeah, we've got another good game here. As you mentioned, if you managed to join us for the first game of the day between Aswan and Lochin, we were treated to an absolute spectacle. And as we mentioned, if there was anything to go by, just wait for what the rest of the day has in store. So this next match we do have playing up from Auckland with a few imports I see. And bolts from New South Wales over in Sydney. So they've made the trip across the ditch, and this will be their second international tour. They competed at the Fijian Cup back in 2022 or 23. So yeah, second international trip, and this will be good experience for them, good exposure.
Yeah, that's it. And, you know, coming across to Whakatane, the bustling metropolis that is Whakatane for the weekend. No place we'd rather be. That, of course, is the Bolts girls there on screen and playing up in the purple there. A club pretty familiar to yourself, Tiv. A long-time servant of playing up. But as you mentioned to us a little earlier, how the times change and new faces come into the fold pretty quickly.
Mate, I'll tell you what, the average age of the personnel in the club is probably about 21. It's, you know, the teams are full of exciting youngsters and no more place for us old fellas anymore. You know, there's a sprinkling, I should say, of experience. And if we're talking in this women's side in particular, look no further than the captain in the middle, number 11, Tia Nortai, wearing the white visor. She'll be pretty influential today, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen her many a time out here and across many touch tournaments, really showing out. So she'll lead this playing upside around. The Bolts, relatively unknown to us, of course, being over from Australia, but I can't wait to see them rip in here this morning. They had a tough night of it at the knockout yesterday, although back out here ready to go this morning, and they'll have first use of it here. Bolts. And just while we wait for the start from our referees, special thank you, of course, to our sponsors for this weekend's tournament. Of course, we've got One Foundation, Whakatane District Council, and the Whakatane Ohope Community Board as our major sponsors for the tournament. Joining them, of course, Ake Chartered Accountants, BTS, Better Together Sportswear, Iceman Whakatane, Underwood and Wilkins, and Whakatane High School. And we're underway here, Tiv, in our first round of women's games. Bolts here with the first go at it. And look at that, there's some good physical defense already from playing up.
Yeah, and you wouldn't expect anything less from Tia Nortai. She's a no-nonsense player. She you know, it doesn't look like there's much to her in terms of physicality, but I can assure you that she is very much the physical player. So she'll be looking to impose herself in this one.
Yeah, it's smooth transition there by playing up. They're well in on attack now.
As we see, one of the imports for playing up, number 14, Meg Sycamore, the Touch Blacks women's co-captain, hailing from Otago. So awesome to see that she gets a run. As you see, Skylar Tainui-Takere with the switch from Totea, long ball out to Aria Tainui-McIntyre. Ball goes to ground, and that's probably a great vote of confidence in the Bolts defence.
Yeah, good option there, the shot from the wing, getting in nice and early. Well defended. And a little unforced error there in their exit, taken quickly by playing up. It'll be interesting to see how this Bolts team deal with the pace of playing up. There's the long ball, and there's the first points of the match. It's off the back of an error, unfortunately, for Bolts. I think one thing we have noticed already, Tiv, is just the difference in physicality in the touches between the two sides. Bolts just looking like they're a little bit overwhelmed by some of the physical touch that playing up have started with, so they're going to have to try and learn about that on the fly.
Yeah, well, I think the other thing about that too, Brad, is that you know, the refs have let it go as well. So it's not up to the playing up defence to change up their physicality. It's like you said, it's up to Bolts to be able to withstand that. As we see, another unforced error, and I hope this isn't the story of the day for them. And a crooked roll ball there without getting into the attacking 7 metre. So playing up will look to ruck and cross over halfway.
And just special mention to our referees out on this game, Bob Cordo, Stace Bannister Plumridge, and Gary Reid out in the middle for game 2 of the day. And sporting the pretty sharp looking BTS ref tops this weekend. Playing up there, they've got numbers on the left.
Oh, and I think she stood out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did look to dive over. I think that was Hey out on the wing. And I thought they had crossed over for their second, but foot on the line. Referees were on the money. They were right on the spot. So Bolts will get next use of the football. And just looking a little bit clunky in their yards. They want to tidy that up, but it is a little bit difficult when you've got the stifling playing up defense just rushing at you. That's the 5th touch. They haven't crossed halfway. And that is an excellent display of rushing defense there from playing up.
Yeah, and you can just see them really trying to get that left side up and cut off the sub box for Bolts and make them really have to work sideways to get there. Really sharp work there from playing up.
And Tainui McIntyre, she likes to fancy herself on the quickie dive, as does her niece with the ball now. Here's Skylar, one of the youngest Touch Blacks women's debutantes from the Trans-Tasman last year, back in April. 16 years old she was when she made her debut.
Wow.
As she looks to get a quickie, gets on the outside, goes to dive over. Touch has been called.
Great touch there too. Dive from both players.
And that's the sort of desperation that Bolts are going to want to employ. As the sweep comes around, Tainui Takere goes the other way.
Yeah.
And instead of diving over, she'll stroll over to score, playing up second.
That's real class there from the young player. Out on the left side, swings around, finds on the right, and like you said, walks that one in the end.
Yeah, that was, she went for the quickie play in the middle. It was an excellent touch there from Bolts, but then as the play came back the other way, they caught the link defender for Bolts up a little bit too high, and Tainui Takere able to get on her outside. As Bolts will get next used to the football, and they'll be hoping to at least get down to the 7-metre line so that they can put on some sort of attack.
Yeah, that's better yards there, that third drive. And again here for Bolts, so an opportunity for them now on the 7. And just couldn't get through. Again, though, it probably took them an extra play to get down there. And we're only left with one attack at it.
Yeah, and that probably comes down to a little bit of organisation, especially coming from the first touch. As you see, an excellent dive there. And a great touch was made as Solomona looks to move up the field. The Rappers coming around. And a lot of space out on the left-hand side, as we see from our aerial camera here. If they can get the ball out there, and there's numbers to burn as Tainui Takere goes that way, throws the long ball over the top, and Oli Heihei will cross over for playing up's third. You could see from our drone footage the amount of space that was out on that left-hand side. The Bolts defense very compressed, and Tainui Takere found the defense, found the space, and lobbed the long ball over the top.
Yeah, and you called it from that bird's eye shot. As Bolts just got drawn into this exit play that playing up put on in front of their sub box there. Just a couple of short passes really drew the extra players, and it became a 3-on-1 in the end for playing up. And good heads up play for them to identify it as well.
And that's as we see another messy roll ball. Foot was in the ruck there from Tote, and there's a little bit of feeling in this Bolts defense, a little bit more urgency, trying to press forward and really limit this playing up yardage.
Yeah, again, they're going to try and work this side before spreading it there. Back in come, playing up the plan in the middle. In fact, no touch there. Offside that player. There they go.
Yeah,
just caught in two minds there, looking inside, shaped outside.
And it was excellent ball movement from playing up, coming through the field. You know, they're very comfortable using the ball and using players. As you see, yet another roll ball. And just the movement, the ball movement from playing up, really catching the Bolts defense going backwards and catching them in 6s and 7s as the sweep comes around again from Notai. Gets on the outside, steps off the left foot. Beautiful play there, Tia Notai. She's a former Touch Black as well. There's a whole heap of them in this playing up outfit, and she showed her class there.
Yeah, nice little, wasn't the biggest left foot step, but just stop in her tracks. Send the defender out. As we see this One Foundation replay.
Reminiscent of her cousin Jermaine Dayberg-Muir. Watch the left foot from Tia Notai, bang. And then the save defender, not quite in tight enough. And playing up now, extend their lead 4-0 with 7.5 minutes gone in the first half. Bolts, I think probably the emphasis would be just to try and get to the 7-metre line first and foremost. And that's a little bit better, going a bit more direct as they look to run a rooster play. but the playing up defense up to the play there.
Yeah, it's one of those, one of those learning curves, I think, for this Bolts team that, what they're going to have to get out of this game, perhaps is not the victory, but how they improve through this game and setting themselves up for their next game, because it's only a short break and they're back in again in round 4, Bolts.
Yeah, that's it. And there's, as we see, the ball coming back out to the right, playing up. Beautiful play there. McClawson goes over. And that was well set up there from the youngster, Sally Solomona. And playing up crossover for their 5th try of the day. But just going back, as you mentioned there, Brad, in terms of the women's draw, there's 13 teams all up. And in playing up's pool along with Bolts is Full Send. So yeah, it's going to be a hard battle for first place. As again, first place does go straight through to the semi-final, but you would probably back playing up to get there. Yeah, especially based on this performance.
Well, that's
anyway.
it. That's it. The way they've started the day, certainly looking the goods in that pool. They'll have a later match, of course, against Full Send.
Yeah, they did well, Bolts there. That was better from them. They managed to get in behind, but just couldn't find the extra number. And the intercept did come, so that should be touch 0. And they've really got to roll on. They're really humming here.
Yeah.
This playing up, well-oiled machine. As the numbers, they look out to the left-hand side. The ball goes over. They've got a couple touches up their sleeve.
And they'll walk one in.
Beautiful finish again from Ollie Hey. And they just had the turnover, didn't they, Brad? Got Bolts on the back foot, and they just ran the numbers.
Yeah, and I guess that's one of the risks it poses. When Bolts did get through, they were in that end zone trying to scramble for a pass. If they don't get anything out of it, there's 2 or 3 of their would-be defenders stuck in the end zone there. Playing up identified it, got the intercept, ran out and took their first touch, and were halfway up the field in 1 touch.
Yeah, exactly. And now Bolts will look to get a little bit of retribution. And again, just a little bit messy at the roll ball, probably wanting to time their run better than that. And now playing up, get the ball with the ball close to halfway as they cross the halfway line through Tainui Takere. And then another unforced error from playing up. That's probably their first of the day though, Brad.
Yeah, it is, and it's in a handy spot for Bolts. They'll start up over halfway. I'd love to see them just be direct for these first 3 and really get up to that 7. And perhaps have 2 plays down there. But just a little bit lateral here.
Scoop is coming. Yeah, just probably a little bit unorganised, aren't they, Bolts at the moment? We see a little bit of direction. They're just needing to get on side. And just having a look in the Bolts sub-box as well, that's probably another factor that's going to come into play for them throughout the day. They do have 4 subbers, so they're doing it tough, these Bolts ladies.
Yeah, that's it. Only 10 on the card here versus full list out there for playing up and some extras.
Yeah, playing with an army out here, the ladies in purple, as the ball goes out to the left-hand side. Beautiful chop line. I think that was Dina Puketapu. And then the call was made. I think, was it touch in the end or a forward pass? I'm not entirely sure.
Touch, I think, was touch called. It was a great chop line there, but excellent touch in defence from Bolts. And again, just unorganised out there. And I think that's probably one of the toughest things is when you've only got 4 in your sub-box and you're trying to get through your transition, is you don't leave many there ready to come on. They've only just had to defend.
Yeah.
And that's where some of this, perhaps, unorganisation is coming from.
Yeah, and then you take into account the weather's going to play its factor today as well as the physical condition, the fitness of these ladies as well. So if you don't have that drill sergeant to get the ladies into position, it's going to be a bit of a struggle. So playing up on the attack in the 7 metre, and the ball going to ground there from Tamati. And probably a little bit messy towards the back end of that set.
Yeah, again, we mentioned what a coaches get out of these sorts of games, and You know, is it time for Playing Up to try a couple extra things that perhaps they've been working on, or do they just stick through process and you know, finish out this game? Execution. It'll be interesting to see what they start to put on for this final 12 minutes.
Yeah, that's right, and the strategy of saving the legs as well for the back end of the day, because it is going to be a long tournament. Notai dives over. The ref's lost the P in his whistle. And a penalty has been given. I think offside was the call. And Notai gets one scrubbed off the board, but they do get a repeat set.
Yeah, and here you can see them setting up here, playing up the switch play. Through she goes. Again, Bolt's just caught out of numbers. Too many gaps, or the gap's too big between the link and the wing there.
Yeah, they stuck to policy there. They were in tight for the safe side, but that was just excellent identification from Playing Up. You could see the physical linking there from the Bolts players. A little bit unorthodox, but then the quickie went. They threw the OZ, bouncing out the link on the right-hand side. And Tainui Takere dives over for her second of the day. 7-0 the scoreline at the moment. We have just over 10 minutes left in this match. As again, if you're just joining us, whānau, it is 25-minute slots here at the Whakatane tournament. As Bolts, that's a little bit better. The long ball goes out to the right-hand side. It did drift forward, but that was excellent defense out there from Hey as well.
Yeah, and a mini Falcon, the smallest of Falcons. They're just off the cap of Hey. And probably where they've been their most impressive, Playing Up through this transition, has set up all of their attack. Yes, they've dotted in the tries and made good decisions up on the 7, but their transition is really what set them up today. Yeah,
that's definitely it. And again, as we mentioned in that first game of the day as well, Brad, if you can win that orange zone, your team really does go a long way to winning the game. As the long ball goes out to the left-hand side, Hey dots over again. And the work was really done leading up to that. Winiana going out to the left-hand side, just drawing a couple of Bolts defenders. And then when they worked the ball back to the middle of the field, Notai got the ball on the outside, threw the pass out to the left. And Hey crosses over for, they've scored 8 tries. I wonder if she's scored about 5 or 6 of them. She's dotted over for a few.
Yeah, there's been a few down her channel out there. Obviously a strike weapon for them. Sticks out on her sideline like all good wingers do.
Yeah, and that's better from Bolts.
Yeah, that's the sort of drive where we'd want to see them 3 in a row and then build off the back of that. Here's their setup. They're still probably 10 out at the moment. And ball to ground.
Yeah, another messy roll ball. I'd hate to see their error count for the day. But credit to them. They're still in this fight. Not scoreline wise, but they are still putting in the effort, and that's probably what would be most pleasing for the Bolts coach.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a couple of girls in there still trying to direct them around. You can see there this dummy half at the moment. She looks like she's directing traffic around for this Bolts team on the ball at the moment. You can see again there's just that physical touch, catching Bolts out a little bit.
That's it, and you know, when you can be that physical, you do come up with, or you do force the errors, I should say, especially at the roll ball, and Bolts have come up with another one there. And now Playing Up will look to move out of their half through Tainui Takere and look to cross over halfway. Their transition, as we mentioned, Brad, has been really, really sharp. And I've been really, really impressed with the Playing Up outfit.
Yeah, absolutely. Here comes their spread now. Out that left side again. That's their danger side. Lovely second pass, and she's through there.
Yeah, and you could hear the comments from Coach Latoya, Tainui McIntyre in the sub box. Lovely set piece, and it was a set play. They ran the rooster from the left-hand side. It was an early release out to Tia Notai, as we see on the One Foundation replay. They work a couple of touches, look to stretch them out on the left-hand side, and then when the ball came back to the middle, they got Puketapu in short, early release on the rooster plate. and Tia No'otai was able to get on the outside. And now Bolts, again, if they could just move forward rather than laterally, they'd be in a better position to strike. But yeah, just a little bit too much lateral at the moment. That's better. But they just haven't managed to string enough of those phases together as they get a penalty finally for the physicality at the roll ball.
Yeah, they'll get a full set here, or hopefully for Bolts. We'll see what they can put on attacking set.
Yeah, they'd love to end this game with a try. They won't want the 9-0 scoreboard as they catch a ricochet. Back to 1 is the call. And they were close to crossing over for their first there.
Yeah, it was a little hip touch there. They got them in the end. But you make your own luck with the ricochet here. They go Bolts. You've got a player out of play. The long ball's taken.
Intercept here, and Parko will run down the right-hand side. The chase is there from, I think that's Semler. And that's a fantastic chase.
Yep. Well done. That's tough to be doing that. Mahi at 9-0 down.
And just the legs factor, I think, it did come into play in the end. There was an excellent chase down. But then off the next phase, yeah, they just didn't have the numbers there, as we see on the One Foundation replay. Great chase. The touch was made, but then the number of defenders that are actually onside, you could count on half a hand there, Brad.
Yeah, they just didn't close those gaps.
Didn't have the numbers.
No.
So, but as we mentioned, that is probably the effort that they're looking for, and they're doing it tough in this heat as well.
Yeah, another little back and forth there. It'll fall for Bolts.
And I'll tell you what, if there's one player that I've been impressed by in this Bolts outfit, it'll be the number 5, Chloe Thomas. She's really tried to direct the play as she looks to scoop to the short side. Nothing doing there. And ball goes to ground out on the left-hand side. But she has tried hard to dictate the play for the Bolts side. But again, just the numbers game, as well as the golf and quality between the two outfits.
Yeah.
As we mentioned, playing up, they are littered with international representatives as well as national representatives. So they were always going to do it tough, this Bolts team.
Yeah, that's it. And, you know, while we probably mentioned perhaps a disappointing performance by Bolts, take nothing away from the pressure that Playing Up have put on them, constantly going at them on both sides of the ball. As we see their class, that little inside, nobody closing. And that one, the extra for Playing Up.
Beautiful there from Playing Up. There was a second phase play, and they just caught Bolts too high at the ruck. The ball went out to the right-hand side. Winiana staying alive on the inside, and she crosses over. Playing Up get 12 on the board, and with just under 5 minutes left, Bolts will be hoping to salvage some pride from this one.
Yeah, 5 or just under 4 minutes, over 4 minutes to play here. There's Bolts with the play, the ball. Again, just probably too lateral for our liking, that far away from the try line. Can't really get anything going there. Excellent slide defense from Playing Up.
I think with the Bolts team, they probably are looking to wait until the 5th to strike. You know, there's a lot of lateral passing and checking back and forth where I think they could have an opportunity or two to strike on touches 1, 2, 3, and even 4 instead of waiting for the 5th and final, which it seems like they're doing at the moment. Is Playing Up, move towards the 7-metre line. And Tainui Takere, the young teenager directing traffic. She comes on a 32 pick. Has been called. I think they might have just lost count of the touch there.
Yeah, I don't think there was an error in it, so it must have just been first.
Now, Bolts will get the ball, trying to move off their line. And they'll just need to go forward. A little bit of realignment would do them wonders. As the ball comes through, crossing the 10-metre line and just trotting forward at this pace. 5th approaching. And coming onto the pace, really trying to inject herself was Thomas. 6 was called. And Playing Up, get the turnover, and will cross over the halfway line within 1 touch.
And on the bench roll here for Playing Up. Their numbers are good. Now they go. Nice little tuck pass there.
Yeah, good call from the ref. She did call her on, and he was pretty clear in his comm. So great listening there from the Bolts defense. But again, this really pressured defense from Playing Up as well as the physicality. And Bolts are really struggling to cope with it.
Yeah, they're sending shooters on almost every play, just trying to get up and force either an error or almost a loss in meters for each. Every play the ball here, having to go lateral this time. And then they get it on halfway here, Playing Up.
Yeah, that's a second set in a row where they've got the turnover just over halfway, and within one touch they're already crossing halfway. So a big tick of approval for the Playing Up defense when it comes to yardage, and when it comes to, you're talking about winning the orange zone, the middle third of the field. You win that through yardage with the ball, but I think more importantly, Playing Up are doing it without the ball as well. As they come into attack, here's Tamati running the loop play. Solomona goes, throws the long ball out wide, and Playing Up will cross over for another one. Mia McClauslin goes over. Wonderful ball there from Lani Solomona.
Yeah, and that puts it out to 12 now with just under a minute left to play. Interestingly, Tiv, it just changes the dynamic of this transition through the sub-box a little bit when you win the ball so high up the field. Usually you're working towards your sub-box. This time, sometimes you're having to drop off when you're already in front of it to get your subs made. So just the angles change a little bit for those players coming on, and that's perhaps a difference that they're kind of having to deal with at the moment. This Playing Up when they are winning the ball so high up the field. Certainly not a bad problem to have.
No, definitely not. And I think with with 30 seconds to go on this one, they will have one or probably both eyes now firmly on future fixtures. As you mentioned, they will play full send in the next round before having a bit of a break and moving on into semis. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see whether they've still got the legs at the back end of the day.
Yeah, it was a clear-cut performance there by the Playing Up women. Their first games of the day. They take home the spoils 12-0 over the visiting Bolts side from Australia. And like you mentioned, both teams here will play full send a little bit later in the days. We'll look forward to some results from those ones. But solid performance here from Playing Up. They'll be pleased with their start to the day. Yeah,
they were very, very classy, weren't they? And it was in all facets of the game as well. They were clinical in their yards. They were clear and really pressing on that defense, applying pressure. And then when it came time to attack, they really turned it on. And you could see with the number of touchdowns that they scored, they had their machine humming today.
Yeah, absolutely. And for the Bolts whānau, look, it doesn't get any easier because your men are up next on the live stream field, but taking on Waitere. And look, for anyone familiar with that name or with this tournament, it's no easy feat taking on the Waitere boys, and they'll come out in full force out here this morning against Bolts. And following that, the rest of our games, I'm actually looking forward to the 11:40 game, Pearl Jam against Lax. That'll be a cool little matchup, as well as the Playing Up boys out here a little bit later at 1 o'clock. Looking forward to seeing them. Unfortunately, having to make the tough decision, the club this year, of dropping Pokaioa Kurukanga because he didn't meet the fitness requirements. He's been left behind for this year's campaign. Shout out to Chops up north, watching along, I'm sure. Those will be some of our games coming up a little bit later. We'll be back for the 10-20 round and not too long. I've been Brad Pittman, joined by Tiv Guthrie, and we'll see you then.
Been too long, leaves are gone, heading for the coastline. Light is it when I'm there, soaking in the sunshine. We walk for miles covered in smiles just for a while, taking the time we press rewind out on the aisles. Eyes wide as the sea, feels like our city. We walk for miles, counting the smiles just for a while, right out on the coastline.
Can you please introduce yourself and your role at the tournament?
Kia ora whānau, my name is George Kururangi. I'm the chairman of the Whakatane Touch Charitable Trust, and we run the tournament and have been doing so for the last 38 years.
Awesome. And how many of those years have you been coming to the tournament and involved?
Gee, I'm a skin when you talk about that. Only 4 years. The last 2 years, of course, have been hampered by COVID. So, yeah, 4 years.
Yeah, awesome. And why is Whakatane Touch Tournament one of the best tournaments in New Zealand?
All you have to do is look around. Weather. I'm sure it's not raining, but it'll be the only place in New Zealand at the moment that's not raining. And it just brings a vibe this time of year. Beach surroundings, people coming from all over the Motu. Good to have them here.
Yeah, I mean, and what are you most looking forward to this weekend? Obviously, we've got the drop-offs tonight, and then tournament kicks off tomorrow. What's the highlight of it for you?
The highlight, I suppose, is seeing people engage back in the sport after that 2-year downtime, shall we say. So good to have everyone back on board. Enjoy the kaupapa in behind it. Met teams from all over just prior to doing this interview. So yeah, good to see familiar faces back on board.
Yeah, absolutely. And last one for us, George. What is it about touch and the touch community in New Zealand that keeps you coming back and volunteering and giving your time?
Just this, you know, like families, involvement, friends. You see kids running around, and it doesn't take much, you know, like all they've got is a ball. And it's just that whanaungatanga and around the whole thing. So that's what excites me.
Oh, awesome. Well, thank you so much for the interview, but also everything you do for Whakatane Touch Tournament, for Touch in New Zealand. We're looking forward to an absolutely awesome weekend, and we're happy to be here. Thank you again.
Cheers, Barry. Thank you.
Been too long, leaves are gone, heading for the coastline. Light is it when I'm there, soaking in the sunshine. We walk for miles, counting the smiles just for a while, right out on the coastline.